People that have the gift of mercy have a strong tendency to be very non-judgmental. Somebody like me who's been in the prayer ministry for a long time, and with the history that I bring along with that, far be it for me to judge anybody. That would be so hypocritical of me, because I have been through so much and have made so many mistakes, and yet God never turned his back on me. God has a tremendous anointing on this church. And just because he knows the end of the story doesn't mean that we shouldn't be praying through that. It's always about God's timing. It's always about God communicating to us being obedient, us being discerning. If we're not a church of prayer, we're not going to really understand what God's doing. And I think for me as the prayer coordinator, one of the things that I have found most challenging is that people seem to be a bit hesitant to use the resources that we offer, the availability of somebody to pray for you after the service. I think people are hesitant to use that because if they go up and they want somebody to pray with them, if somebody sees, they'll be like, oh, the stigma that's attached to that. There's no stigma. I'm always at the ready to ask somebody for prayer for me. I have difficulties. I struggle. I want my brother or my sister to be praying for me. I want to be transparent because God and Christ define who I am. God's very clear in the scriptures about wanting a relationship with us. And not only a relationship, but an intimate relationship. When I think about prayer, the first thing that comes to mind is that God is so worthy of our praise, so worthy of our worship. And for me as an individual, I start all of my prayers with just praising God for who he is, because it astounds me that God even wants to deal with us, to interact with us, that he covets a relationship with us. And there isn't a day goes by that it just amazes me, and that he's so receptive. And the word says that he's supposed to be our port of refuge. That tells me that when I'm in a jam, when I'm struggling, I can go to that Holy of Holies, who's also my Abba. There's peace in that. For me, there's comfort in that. Over the years with my walk with God, I find it refreshing that God points to things in my life that need turned over to him, because I have experienced so much freedom. There's so much freedom in talking to God and having him restore. That we have some really powerful prayer warriors in this church who have the gift of mercy, which means they want to tend to other people, and they have the gift of discernment. As we grow and as we're busting out at the seams, that if we're not a praying body, we're going to miss a lot of what God has to say and what he wants to give to this church. I believe that everything begins and ends with prayer.